Hi, we're out on the range today, so please bear with gunfire here in the background. Fair warning, everything I'm going to do today will be very tedious. And what I'm talking about is the reliability of rimfire ammunition, specifically .22 long rifle, and reliability specifically as it relates to duds. And the reason I'm doing that is because recently I expressed my incredulity to someone's claim that they had fired 20,000 rounds of .22 long rifle ammunition without a single dud. And that led to some discussion and debate about the reliability of .22 ammo. Someone even felt the need to make a 15-minute YouTube presentation solely to refute my skepticism. So what I want to start with is two things. One, what does rimfire mean? And two, what do I mean when I say reliability? Let's start with a close-up. On your left is a .38 special casing, and you can see the primer in the center, hence the term center fire. On your right is a .22 long rifle casing, and you cannot see a visible primer because the priming compound is inside the cartridge within the rim, hence the term rimfire. According to the sources I read, the way rimfire ammunition is manufactured is that a drop of fulminate of mercury is put into the empty casing, which is then spun, and inertia will get that priming compound into the hollow rim. It then crystallizes, propellant is added, a projectile is put in place, and you have a cartridge of ammunition. Now that brings us to the topic of what do I mean when I use the word dud. That word can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but what I mean specifically as far as it relates to this topic is that when the round of ammunition is properly loaded and the firearm is working properly and that firing pin hits that rim, it fails to detonate the cartridge. I'm not talking about squibs that get stuck in the barrel or failures to extract or failures to feed. I mean it's just a failure to fire. And there's a lot of things that can cause that. If your ammunition is excessively old, reliability can go down. What's more common is that the ammunition has not been stored properly and exposed to extremes of temperature or to moisture. But presuming that your ammunition is relatively new and has been stored properly, and that your firearm is in good working condition and the shooter hasn't made any mistakes, when that firing pin hits that rim and the round fails to go off, the most common cause of that is voids in the priming compound. When it's spun, there's places in the rim that didn't get any priming compound. And so when that firing pin hits the rim in just the right spot, or you might say just the wrong spot, that it doesn't go off. That's why a lot of times you can extract that cartridge, turn it over, rechamber it, the firing pin hits in a different place, and it does go off. But for today's purposes, we're not going to allow for second strike. We're going to say one strike and you're out. We'll consider that round a dud. So with all of that, how reliable is .22 long rifle ammunition? Let's see if we can put that to the test. So let's shoot some .22 ammo and see how many duds we get. Now I've got 9 firearms here, all caliber .22 long rifle. A Ruger 10/22 with a Ruger 25-shot magazine. A Ruger 10/22 takedown with a Ruger 25-shot magazine. A Remington nylon 66, which has a 14-shot tube. I have it loaded with 14+1. The Marlin 795 with an aftermarket 25-shot magazine. Now, earlier I mentioned this magazine has had some problems with malfunctions. I find if I download it a little bit, that helps a lot. So right now this is loaded with 22 rounds of .22 ammo. The Marlin Model 60 with a 15-shot tube magazine. The Beretta M922 with a 15-shot magazine. Smith & Wesson M&P 22 with a 10-shot mag. Ruger Mark III with a 10-shot mag. And Smith & Wesson Model 63 with an 8-shot cylinder. Altogether, that's 145 rounds of ammo. Now, there's no question that some types of ammo will work better in some firearms than it does in others. So if we see that we're getting duds, but they're recurring with just 1 or 2 firearms, that'll tell us more about our guns than it does our ammo. And I've got a chart behind me to help me keep track of that. There's also a matter of, earlier I said that age and storage of the ammunition can affect its reliability. Well, all the ammunition I'm going to use today was purchased just in the last few weeks, and it's all been stored properly in a cool, dry place, and it's been stored together, therefore equally. Now, sometimes you can run into what's called a bad lot of ammunition. For example, in shooting centerfire ammo with Winchester white box ammo, I don't recall ever having a dud, except for one box of 50 had about 6 duds in it. It just came from a bad lot. So to avoid that possibility, the ammo I'm using today was purchased at different stores hundreds of miles apart, so I could ensure they came from a different lot. Now there's also no question that some .22 ammunition is of much higher quality than others, and I'm going to start with a type of .22 ammo that has a reputation for being low quality. All of these firearms are loaded with Remington .22 Thunderbolt. That's .22 long rifle with a round-nosed lead bullet. So let's see what kind of performance we get out of it. And remember, we're talking specifically about duds, not other types of malfunctions. Not a dud, just a failure to feed. So far, so good. Now give me a couple of minutes to reload all my guns, and we'll try that again. And now I'm completely reloaded. Let's try this drill again. So far, so good. Give me a couple of minutes to get reloaded again. And now I've got all my guns loaded again, so I'll shoot another 145 rounds. And this is the part where I was talking about when I said everything would be very tedious. I invite everyone to skip forward to the end when we analyze the data. But let's go on with shooting. Now, that was a malfunction, not a dud. So we'll reload this round. We had one empty that just failed to eject. And so the subsequent round The subsequent round didn't feed correctly, double fed, and broke my extractor. So we'll correct that in a minute. Now, I don't know if you could hear it, but I could certainly feel it. One of those rounds was a little underpowered. And let me reload again. And now I've reloaded just enough to finish off that first 500 shot brick. Which put only 21 rounds in that rifle. So we got through our first 500 rounds without any duds. However, if I counted right, there were only 497 rounds in that 500 round brick. But that's nitpicking. So now I'll do some PMCS on that rifle where the extractor came out, and we'll go to our second 500 round brick of 22 Thunderbolt ammunition, which is from a different lot, and let's see how we do. Due to the snowfall we've gotten, I've had to move to a different location, but I've got the extractor reinstalled on that rifle, and so let's start our second brick of Remington 22 Thunderbolt ammo. There was no duds, but there was one of those rounds where I could feel it was significantly underpowered. Let's reload and do round two. And now I've got all our guns reloaded. Let's carry on. You may have noticed in our last iteration that this rifle was only loaded with 24 rounds. I guess I miscounted when loading the magazine. And let's reload and go for round 3. And now I've got all our guns loaded. Let's continue. Sometimes I miscount how many rounds I've fired. Now we had some kind of problem. And there it is. There is a good dent in the rim of that round. So we've had our first dud. So let's continue. And now let's reload and see if we can get any more duds. Now to finish off this box of 500 rounds, there was not enough left to reload all the firearms, so I'm just going to use a few of them. And again, this round has a very good firing pin strike in the rim of it. So we've got our second dud. Now this other one that ejected, that was just the result of a malfunction, so we'll shoot that one again. I'm going to take a minute to reload this one. And remember, I wasn't reloading that one that was a dud, just one that had ejected out inadvertently. Now there's a real punchline to our second box of Remington Thunderbolt ammunition. If you were counting, you may have noticed that I fired 524 rounds of ammo out of this box that's very clearly marked 500 rounds. Well, that's interesting. Now, in the first box, I said that if I counted right, there was only 497. Actually, there were 2 rounds stuck under the cardboard at the bottom of the box, so that box really had 499 if I was counting right. But this box had 524? That's a very interesting result. Also, in our first box, you noticed we had 0 duds. In our second box, we had 2 duds. Not only that, in our first box, I could feel 1 round that I could tell was significantly underpowered. In this second box, there was no less than a dozen that when I fired, I could feel very underpowered rounds. I could still see the impacts out in the snow, and I knew that those rounds were firing. I knew they weren't squibs, but definitely underpowered. So it would appear that although this ammunition has a reputation for being low quality, it really seems like what they have is low quality control. Some bricks of this ammunition are far better than others. Now let's switch to another brand of ammunition and see how it compares. Now we'll try CCI Blazer ammunition, 22 long rifle, 40 grain round nose lead. And this brick of 500 rounds actually has 10 of these little boxes in it. So let's see how we do with this. So far, so good. So far, so good with the Blazers. Let's continue. And again, a good dent in this round from the firing pin. So there's our first dud. Okay, there. Now we're out. So we've got one dud so far, but we shouldn't hang our hats on that. Let's keep going. And again, that is a good firing pin strike. Now let's do a partial reload and finish that brick. And now I've only got some of our firearms loaded to finish off that brick. And now let's reload and try brick number 2. And again, this has a good dent in the primer, or I should say in the rim of the priming compound. That one I'm not so sure about. The chamber might not have been completely closed. So we'll reload this one and shoot it again. So, one more dud. Let's reload and see how many more we can get. And there it is with the revolver, a good strike in the rim, and another dud. Let's reload and see how many more duds we can find. And again, a very good firing pin strike. And let's reload one more time and finish off that brick. And now we'll finish off our second brick of CCI Blazer. And again we see a good primer strike. Now we're not quite done. Still have one more magazine that I neglected to put into this rifle. Okay, now we're done with our second brick. Right about now is when some people are thinking, well, it seems like we're getting more duds, but that's due to my firearms all being dirty now that we're about 2,000 rounds into this. But remember, that's 2,000 rounds spread out over 9 different firearms, so they haven't been fired all that much individually. And each time I'm evaluating a dud, I'm looking at the base of that round and I can see a good firing pin hit. So how much our rounds have been fired through these guns isn't really a big factor. But what I am going to do right now is go home, clean all of these guns, and then we'll try a different type of ammunition. Well, we fired 1,000 rounds of CCI Blazer, and what we got was, with our first brick, 2 duds, and with our second brick, 4 duds. Now, there are those who could say that's twice as many, but there are also those who would argue twice nothing is still nothing. Also, you noticed that I took the nylon 66 out of the rotation. I saw that with our Blazers we were initially getting a couple more duds with this than we were with the other guns, and so I wanted to make sure we were evaluating the ammunition, not how the ammunition performs in this particular rifle. But that brings up the question, up to that point I'd fired just as many rounds through the nylon 66 as I had through the Marlin Model 60. Why were we getting more duds with this one than with this one? And in looking at the rims of the expent casings, what it appears is that the nylon 66 has a narrower firing pin than the Rugers or the Marlins do. And where that could make a difference is if your duds are being caused by voids in priming compound in the rim of that rimfire casing, to exaggerate it many times over, if you had a void in the priming compound this wide but you had a firing pin this wide, then no matter where it hits that void, some of that firing pin is still going to hit priming compound. But if you had a firing pin only this wide, it wouldn't. And I think in terms of duds, that's where the nylon 66 is having a few more of them. Now, there are also those who would argue that now that we are over 2,000 rounds into this process, and we're seeing what would appear to be more duds, 4 in our second brick of Blazer, only 2 in our first brick, that that's being caused because the firearms are now getting dirty. Well, in auto-loading firearms, once they become significantly fouled, that will increase your instances of failure to extract, failure to eject, failure to feed. But they would have to be extremely fouled before it really significantly impacted the firing pin's ability to put a good strike on the rim of that rimfire casing. Also, remember that although we fired over 2,000 rounds, that spread out over 9 firearms. And even with the 1022s and their larger magazines, that still isn't all that many rounds per firearm. But what I'm going to do now is take all these firearms home and clean them again, and we'll come back to the range and we'll try a different kind of ammunition, but this time we'll use an ammunition that has a very good reputation in terms of reliability. Now we have a new chart put up, all of our firearms have been cleaned, and now they're loaded with CCI Mini Mag 22 long rifle 36 grain hollow point. Let's see how this stuff performs. That was off by 1 with both of those. Now that was not a dud, that was just a malfunction. And this round was damaged in feeding, so we can't count that one. There we go. No duds, but 1 malfunction. Let's reload and try again. And a magazine malfunction. chambered around on that before we started filming. Now we'll reload and try some more. And let's do this again. And now we'll finish off this first pack of 500 rounds. And that one was only loaded with 5 to make 500 come out even. Now that's not a dud, that's just a malfunction, failure to feed. And again, that round was damaged, so we can't count that one. Interesting note here that we've had very few malfunctions, but now with the Mini Mags, we're having a few with this Marlin Model 795. It would seem that some guns don't like some ammo. And now as we start on our second 500 pack of Mini Mags, remember this ammunition was purchased in a different place at a different time than the first 500 pack. And again, a failure to feed. Again, severely damaging that round. Now that's an interesting phenomenon. And let's try some more. Now this time I've only loaded this magazine with 20 rounds. Let's see if that helps us with our feeding. And the answer would be no. Again, a failure to feed, and again, a severely damaged round. A little bit of a hang-up on one of those rounds, but not a dud. Let's shoot some more. Now I've got the Marlin 795 loaded with the original 10-shot magazine that it came with, so we'll see if this rifle doesn't like this ammunition, or maybe just the magazine doesn't like this ammunition. So far, so good. And there's our first stud with our CCI Mini Mags. There is a very good strike on the rim of this round. And round. Let's reload and shoot some more. So it would appear it was just the aftermarket magazine that didn't like the Mini Mags. Now a partial reload to finish off that brick of 500. And to finish off our second 500 pack of Mini Mags, there was only 7 rounds left. Let's try our third 500 pack of Mini Mags. So now let's start on our third 500 pack of Mini Mags. Just a failure to feed. And again a failure to feed. And let's try some more. And yes, on the 1022 takedown, that magazine wasn't completely full. Now, for those of you who have not skipped to the end, if you think watching this is tedious, imagine the tedium of doing all the loading and firing. This turns into work in a hurry. And it looks like the problem with this gun and this particular ammunition was just the magazine. And let's keep going. And again, just a failure to feed. And now we'll do a partial reload and finish off our third 500 pack. And now to finish off our last 500 pack of CCI Mini Mags. Now, let's go crunch the numbers. Well, here's our chart showing how many duds we had with each firearm, and you can see we had quite a few. Now, in terms of how many rounds I actually fired, I have to round that off a little bit, pardon the pun, because in using the .22 Thunderbolt ammunition that was just 500 loose rounds of ammo, it would appear that neither of those 500 packs I used actually had exactly 500 rounds in them. With the CCI Mini Mag ammunition, due to malfunctions, a couple of rounds were damaged, so I did not shoot an exact number there either. So I have to round it off a little bit. But basically with the .22 Thunderbolt ammunition, with the first brick of 500, I had one round that I could perceive was significantly underpowered, but in terms of duds, none. With the second brick of the Thunderbolt ammunition, I had 2 duds, and no less than a dozen rounds that I could perceive were significantly underpowered. Now that seems to be a real difference in quality. And that reflects the differences I've seen over the years in shooting Remington's .22 ammo. The Golden Bullet ammunition, I'll buy a brick of that and it will perform excellently. Later I'll buy another brick of it and it performs terribly. And that inconsistency is something I've seen. So I wouldn't say that Remington makes low quality .22 ammo, I'd say that they have poor quality control. But no matter how you word it, it still comes out to when you buy a brick of Remington .22 ammo, you don't know if you've got the good stuff or not. Now by contrast with the CCI Blazer, I didn't perceive there were any rounds to speak of that were significantly underpowered, but in terms of duds, in the first 500 round brick I had 2 and in the second I had 4. Now that's really not all that many when you're talking about relatively low cost .22 ammo. So you can say one brick was twice as many as the other, but you can also say twice nothing is still nothing. Now with the CCI Mini Mags, we did have 1 dud, but that's out of 1,500 rounds, not the 1,000 each we fired out of the others. So there's definitely a quality difference between CCI Mini Mag and CCI Blazer. But even with the much higher quality ammo, we still did have 1 dud. And that higher quality comes at a higher price. I paid fully double for the Mini Mag ammunition what I paid for the Blazer. But what we can really see from all of this is although high quality ammunition definitely has fewer duds than low quality, they occur. So where do we get the idea and all the claims of people saying they've fired .22 ammunition for decades without any duds, the claim that people have fired 10,000 rounds without any duds? Where does that come from? Well, the guy who made the talking video where he didn't actually shoot any .22 ammo, refuting my conclusions on .22 ammo, he made the claim that he'd fired between 3,000 and 4,000 rounds of CCI Blazer ammunition and that he didn't remember having any trouble with it. Now that's very possible that he didn't remember having any duds, but I think that says more about his memory than it does about the quality of the ammunition. Now I've said this anecdote before. Someone shows me a gun and says that it has never malfunctioned. I go to the range with him and watch that gun malfunction a couple of times. Go to the range on a subsequent occasion, watch it malfunction a couple more times. Go to the range on a subsequent occasion and witness him telling somebody else how that gun has never malfunctioned. That's just the way sometimes people remember the quality and the reliability of their guns and ammunition. But when I fire 1,000 rounds of CCI Blazer and I have 6 duds, I find the concept of someone firing over 3,000 rounds of it without any duds to be highly doubtful. So what we can really see from all of this is that although higher quality .22 ammo will certainly have less duds than lower quality, they do occur. And I have to go back to my original thesis on this, which is to the claim that someone fired 20,000 rounds of .22 long rifle ammunition without a single dud. No, you didn't. So as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the .22 long rifle reliability video.